Hello there, I'm Dreadfreak, and I'm going to show you something in Minecraft. I haven't made a Minecraft video in a while, but came up with an interesting concept that I don't think anyone has done yet, although maybe they have. I haven't really looked at other people's Minecraft videos in a while. So, on the new server that I started, well, restarted for the new version, we set up our base in a Shattered Savannah, because it is the coolest biome. And that presents an interesting problem, because our base is at Y level 156. So if you want to like get down to bedrock level to do mining, then it is a huge pain to climb a ladder that far. Or a staircase for that matter. So I made this. So it's a drop shaft with water interrupting it so you don't die. And then, as soon as I activate those pressure plates, it is a water elevator. Of course, this would have been way easier to do with two separate shafts, but I think it is cooler with one shaft. Oh yeah, if I stay on it, then I actually get knocked off by the defense gates. So if you don't dismount, then you will get automatically dismounted. And this is basically what it looks like inside here. Let me up my speed. Oh, come on. How do I... Okay, there we go. Now I'm going faster. Yeah, this was all built in survival, but I designed it in creative. I'll go over to my testing world and show you a bit more how it works when it's not encased in world. So I'll also show you my first concept for it, which I'm standing next to right now. Because first I was like, oh yeah, you can put magma blocks on water and then the water elevator goes down. Except it turns out that the magma block downwards water elevator just sucks in general. So this works. I hate how you can't just do game mode S anymore with Android. But yeah, like in the upward direction this is basically as good, although you do take some damage from stepping on the magma block. But when you're going downwards, it's just so much slower than just dropping. So the drop shaft version is way better. That's it right over there. And the height of these test models is based on height of the real one in that server world, because I designed it for that. So I built the test versions to the exact same height. But yeah, like the downwards motion is slow, and then when you get to the bottom you take damage because you're on a magma block. And this one you can dismount a bit higher, so... How come all the ones on this side closed? All the fence gates. Whatever. You can... Yeah, if you do that, then you don't take damage. But still, it just kind of sucks. I can show you the mechanism for it, though. It is pretty cool. So the mechanism is a block swapper. So this piston and this piston are the block swappers. Then these outwards facing pistons detect the pressure plate input and sneak it away from the block swapper so it doesn't interfere. So this piston goes to this piston, which goes to here. Same thing on the opposite side. So then they power this torch, which starts the block swapper mechanism. This is the initial part of the block swapper over here, so this piston retracts, monostable, this piston extends and quickly retracts, while this is retracted, and then it extends again, this one, once the initial input goes away, but also at the same time it starts this redstone dust going, which goes to a timer. I don't think I've seen anyone use this type of timer before, but you spit out an item, golden hoe, just because, into this water elevator. So you got a little water elevator on your control circuit for the big water elevator, and it goes around onto this cobweb. Goes onto the cobweb. Takes like 25 seconds or something to fall through the cobweb into the hopper. When it reaches the hopper, then it gets detected that it fell, so that is the delay that tells it when to swap back. Now, this has a few major downsides, this timer. One downside of it is that you can't tune the time very precisely. Like, it's... if you add another cobweb, then it makes the timer much longer, but you can't tune it very precisely. The other downside is, if I step on the pressure plate, like when I'm dismounting the elevator, go grab something quick and then come back, when I step back on the pressure plate, it won't restart the timer because the item is just in the cobweb. So, yeah, that is something that I wanted for the second iteration of it, so that's what I did for the other one. Another type of timer that is very common is, of course, the hopper timer. But actually, a hopper timer would have a similar issue, although not quite the same, in that the hopper timer takes time to reset after each iteration. So, let me show you a basic hopper timer. Alright, I figured it out. So this is basically the variant of the hopper timer that I would have used, with a shorter delay, of course, but you'd press this to start it, so it goes, and then goes back, but if you start it again, then it has a shorter delay, because it takes time for the items to reset back into the initial hopper. So like, it's supposed to have a 20 item delay. If I do it, then it does a 20 item delay, as long as there were 20 items in the initial hopper. But I have to like wait for it to fill back up again for it to have the full delay. So it would not be ideal in this situation. I want it to be like every time you step on one of those pressure plates, the delay resets and goes exactly as much as you want. So, I used a like redstone decay clock over here. So you step on it, it decays down, and then once it has decayed all the way to 0, that's when it slips back to drop shaft instead of water elevator. Step on it, starts decaying, and then I step on it again, it resets the timer by setting the signal back to full strength. So that's the control circuit for it. There's also a piston here to get the output. I could probably redesign it so that piston isn't required, but you need like a bunch of sticky pistons anyways for this. By the way, these redstone blocks don't have to be redstone blocks. They could be solid blocks with a lever on the side like that. But if you have this many sticky pistons, it's probably not that hard to get that many redstone blocks. And they're easier to build than doing a powered lever on all of these. So that's what I did. I also did the same thing in survival. I did redstone blocks for all of those. As for the actual mechanism of the drop shaft to water elevator, in the bottom here there are 2 dispensers powered by an observer. So they'll get triggered once when this torch turns on, and then again when it turns off. Like so. That sticks the water out and then pulls it back in. There is this one piston with a fence gate here to hold back the water right there. Actually, I realized this is slightly different than the version that I had in multiplayer, just because pretty sure the version that I built in multiplayer, I did this. It had water here. Everything is flooded. That's why I put glass over the redstone, so that wouldn't get flooded. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I did it like this. Obviously this difference doesn't make any functional difference, but it was like this. So the drop shaft was consistent all the way up. But yeah, so there are a few gaps where it is just water instead of the sticky pistons getting rid of the water. So the way that this works in general is there are water sources with slabs in them so that the player won't be able to enter them. So those waterlogged slabs generate a water source block in between them whenever that block is open. So water flows in the middle, generates a water source block. And the water source blocks propagate all the way upwards and turn this entire column into water sources. Then, when the signal decays, all those pistons push fence gates into there, and the fence gates replace the water, get powered by the redstone blocks, and open. So the open fence gates let you drop through, then they get pulled out again, they depower, and become effectively a wall so the player won't get into that air gap. So yeah, a little bit scatterbrained, but that's the general concept of how this thing works. And the circuit powering it, actually, this is also updated. All these torches are unnecessary. I first built the torch tower, then added on those extensions to power the pistons, and didn't realize until I went to go build it in survival that those torches are not necessary because the power gets transmitted through here. So this torch powers that block, which powers this dust, which powers this block. So it's the same thing, functionally. And I do need this part to power the pistons, so I don't need this other torch in the main tower. And get rid of that. For all these. There's a cat on my lap. Oh, I do need that one. Because that one actually powers pistons. Yep. So yeah, this is... I don't know if I ever showed you this one. It is functionally the same. So these gaps that just have regular water, they're about every 15 blocks. I think the bottom one is actually longer than 15. They probably could be bigger gaps once you get higher up. But the reason for those is, besides slowing you down when you're falling, but for that you could just have a longer stream of water at the end. The reason for those is that it takes time for the water sources to propagate upwards in this column, and they actually do it slower than the player goes up in the water elevator. So when I first made it, the player would catch up with the water sources that are propagating upwards, and the water elevator would stop working. You'd go slower at the speed of the water sources propagating instead of at the full speed. So what this does, having these gaps that are just water sources all the time, makes it so that every time the piston retracting gets to this spot, the water source propagating starts from there rather than from the bottom. So there's multiple sections of water sources propagating upwards to get it all turned into water sources faster than if it all had to start from the bottom. And with that, I think I've explained everything. This is still, like I said at the beginning, this is totally pointless because you could just have two separate shafts, but it is really cool. And I think that it makes for a much more stylish way to get up and down from a very high up base. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Not sure if I'll be making any more Minecraft videos for a while, but maybe.